Hello and welcome back to Func. My name is Colby Hawk.
And I'm Avery Johnson.
Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you've had a great start to your week. Now let's take a look at what the weather forecast will look like for the next few days. Today has had overcast skies with a high of 70 degrees and a low of 52. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to come out along with a slightly warmer predicted high of 74 and a low of 45. Sunny skies will roll into Wednesday as well, but it's forecasted to cool down to a high of 67 and a low of 44. Then on Thursday, similar conditions are expected with a high of 66, low of 40, and sunny skies.
Today's word of the day is garble. To garble something, such as a word, name, or message, is to cause it to be unclear or distorted. This type of garbling can be the result of an accident, ignorance, or transmission error. Garble can also mean to alter or distort to create a wrong impression or change the meaning. It can be used in sentences such as, I was so nervous I garbled their names, or Siri doesn't hear me correctly, so my texts get garbled.
Now for today's This Day in History segment. On March 24th, 1972, Francis Ford Coppola's iconic mobster film The Godfather was released in theaters. Based on Mario Puzo's best-selling novel of the same name, it follows an Italian-American crime family led by Vito Corleone. Despite taking fierce criticism by members of the Italian-American community during its development over concerns that it will promote harmful stereotypes. However, The Godfather went on to win 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it consistently sits as one of the best films ever made.
There are a number of CLPs happening this week, so if you're needing some, There are a number of CLPs happening this week, so if you're needing some extra credits, you're in luck. Tomorrow, Tuesday, March 25th, from 2:30 to 3:20 in Daniel Recital Hall, the Furman Clarinet Society will host a lecture recital presented by East Zodiac Music. The ensemble's mission is to foster a creation of music by Asian composers and ensure there is a space and representation for musicians of Asian descent in the United States. Currently, their work focuses on corresponding with the 12-year Chinese zodiac calendar. 2 of the founding members are Furman alumni from the class of 2021. The organization most recently received 501 nonprofit status, allowing them to access larger donations and grants. Though having them on campus is an event, students will be able to hear these new works and also learn about the commissioning process and what applying for and receiving nonprofit status entails.
Recently, the Trump administration is reassessing the U.S. relationship with Russia. President Trump's decision to initiate talks with President Putin about Ukraine's future, along with his broader dissatisfaction with the Western alliance and NATO, has challenged long-standing pillars of American foreign policy that have been in place since the 1940s. America's changing relationship with Russia, however, must be understood in the context of a rising China. Tomorrow, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the Trone Student Center Watkins Room, the Politics Department will be hosting Professor Sergei Radchenko, a Russia and China expert, Professor Susan Shirk, a China specialist, and Mike Bressler, a Russia expert, to deliver a 30-minute lecture followed by a response panel and audience Q&A session in an effort to help understand Russia's approach to the world and recent changes in global politics.
Tomorrow, from 7 to 8 in Patrick Lecture Hall, the Furman Justice Forum will be hosting an interactive lecture given by Charlotte Ward, the Communications and Media Manager of Citizens Climate Lobby, a nonpartisan climate change organization. This lecture will discuss environmental justice and how it relates to climate change, and will detail actionable items for individuals to take in regards to Justice Forum. These are just a few CLP events happening tomorrow, so if you're interested in more details or checking out the other events happening this week, be sure to visit the Furman CLP calendar online.
Let's now shift over to today's top news stories. In the midst of ongoing wildfires in the upstate area and western North Carolina, some families are forced to leave their homes while crews continue to battle raging fires to keep them from spreading. Currently, both North and South Carolina are under a burn ban to help prevent fires from spreading further. Some of these fires are even happening in the Greenville County, with multiple agencies and the South Carolina Forestry Commission responding to the Persimmon Ridge fire in Greenville County. The fire started in Mountain Bridge Wilderness area behind Caesars Head State Park in Jones Gap State Park on March 22nd. All trails at both state parks are closed until further notice. Officials state that this fire has grown to more than 800 acres, but it is unfortunately 0% contained. Be sure to stay tuned for more updates on these wildfires as efforts to suppress them are in action.
The Greenville County's coroner's office announced that one man has died from his injuries after a shooting at a hookah lounge in Greenville. On Sunday at 3 a.m., officers were called to Augusta Road regarding reports of gunshots in the area. Upon arrival, officers say that one person sustained at least one gunshot wound. The victim was transported to Prisma Health Greenville Memorial Hospital, where he died from injuries. The victim was identified as 22-year-old Derek Shaquan Higgins of Simpsonville. An autopsy is scheduled on Monday, March 24th, to identify the official cause and manner of death. This remains an ongoing investigation with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office and the Greenville County Coroner's Office.
In an article published today, Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief for The Atlantic, detailed how on March 11th he received a connection request from the encrypted app Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. Goldberg said that he accepted the connection despite not being sure if it was actually from the president's advisor. However, in the days that followed, Goldberg said that he was added to a group chat titled Houthi PC Small Group. This group of about 24 individuals included users who identified themselves as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Waltz. The users discussed policy considerations about a strike on Iran-backed Houthi rebels. At one point, the account tied to Vance expressed hesitation about the strikes, but ultimately stated he would, quote, support the consensus of the team. Goldberg said a subsequent message from Hegseth, quote, contained operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing. Knowing the attack was set for March 15th at around 1:45 p.m., Goldberg said that he parked at a supermarket and checked X for reports of the bombings in Yemen. He wrote, quote, at about 1:55, I checked X and searched Yemen. Explosions were then being heard across Sana'a, the capital city. A short time later, Goldberg said that users in the group chat started congratulating each other. He added that he removed himself from the group chat after coming to the conclusion that it was likely legitimate. In response to this matter, National Security Council spokesperson Brian Hughes commented, quote, at this time, the message thread that was reported appears to be authentic, and we are reviewing how an inadvertent number was added to the chain. The thread is a demonstration of the deep and thoughtful policy coordination between senior officials. The ongoing success of the Houthi operation demonstrates that there were no threats to our service members or our national security, end quote. Vance's communications director, William Martin, also stated, quote, the vice president's first priority is always making sure that the vice president's advisors and the president's advisors are adequately briefing him on the substance of their internal deliberations. Vice President Vance unequivocally supports this administration's foreign policy. The president and the vice president have had subsequent conversations about this matter and are in complete agreement, end quote. President Donald Trump was asked about Goldberg's article on Monday today. He said, quote, I know nothing about it.
Today, David Rush, an Idaho man, broke a Guinness World Record and a sign at the organization's headquarters by completing 38 behind-the-back basketball passes in 30 seconds. Rush holds the most concurrent Guinness World Records, and he attempted the record for the most behind-the-back passes off a wall in 30 seconds during a visit to the Guinness World Records headquarters in London. Rush commented online that, quote, the only wall available to use was the one with the official Guinness World Records logo on it, end quote. He realized shortly into his attempt that the bouncing ball was causing the sign to fall apart. He also described the scene happening, quote, first the star peeled off, then pieces of the wooden logo started clattering to the floor. It sounded like a mini demolition zone, end quote. Rush took the record with 38 passes, beating the previous record of 25. In the aftermath of the feat, Rush also wrote, quote, the Guinness team was supportive, and to top it off, I've been dubbed the LeBron James of record breaking. I thought, how ironic was that? LeBron broke the NBA's all-time scoring record, passing 50,000 points, and here I am, breaking a basketball record of my own, end quote. Can you believe that?
Well, I don't know about me being able to do it, but that's certainly an impressive accomplishment.
Seriously, I think Dude Perfect may have a little bit of competition on their hands.
Yeah, they do some pretty awesome stunts. I don't know how many takes it takes them to get all this
I'm
stuff.
sure it takes
I know
forever.
it takes quite a long time. I know they've like posted some outtakes of some of their videos, and it probably takes dozens, maybe depending on how hard it is, hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So like the one time you see it, it's like the one fraction of a chance that it's actually going to get exactly what you want to turn out.
Yeah, I know. It's lots of time for sure.
I find it pretty interesting, but I don't know how easy it is for the
I don't
average person. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. We appreciate you tuning in, and if you have any recommendations for stories, you can feel free to email us at can'tstopthefunk@gmail.com. I'm Colby Hawk.
And I'm Avery Johnson.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.